What's up, everyone? Welcome to my computer upgrade vlog. About a week or two ago, I've bought some new parts for my computer. So, let's check it out. So, here we got the ASUS Z690-F motherboard. Okay, underneath the partition, we've got the keyring or keychain. I'm going to use it to hook onto my USB. And of course the user menu with the optical disc. Who still use optical disc in 2022? Together with the menu, you get this quick start guide plan fit as well. Then we got all these like RG stickers for us to stick on our case, and thank you card. Then you got this quick release lock for the M.2 NVMe slot. And then we got 4 SATA SATA cables for our SATA hard drives. And zip ties for cable management, of course. And this tiny rubber pads to support the SSD on the NVMe slot. Now I'm gonna unbox the Intel i9 12900K CPU. This is pretty much the most powerful Intel CPU you can get, except the 12900KS, which is like super pricey, and it's like spinned CPU. So the CPU itself is housed in this like goldish wafer, I think it's called. In case you don't know, those are later break into tiny squares which form the CPU itself. So here you go, 12900K. And now I'll insert the CPU into the socket. Note that the bracket closes from a different direction compared to previous generations. So I just need to close the bracket and the lid will pop out. And I need to press that. Actually, I need to use quite a lot of force to bend down the lever. It takes a lot more force than previous generations as well. So now the lid is off, and just I wasn't really sure whether I have to use that much force. I thought I messed it up, but actually this is how you're supposed to close the lever. And now I will install the NVMe SSD. First, I need to remove the heatsink cover. Then carefully remove the protective film of the thermal paste. And slot in the SSD. For this new generation ASUS motherboard, they are using like a quick release lock, so it took me quite a while to figure out how it works, and it's really close to the thermal paste, so you might end up scratching the thermal paste. For CPU cooling, I have chosen the NZXT Z73 360mm all-in-one water cooling solution. It comes with the LGA 1700 socket brackets. So I just need to install the bracket underneath the motherboard and install all 4 of the standoff screws. And now I will insert the motherboard onto my case. Note that I did not put the NVMe SSD heatsink back on because it will get in the way of the retaining screws of the motherboard onto the case. So I only put the heatsink back on once I've installed all 9 retaining screws. And now I will install the water block for the CPU AIO cooler. Should you choose ASUS motherboards, please note that the RAM slots are a little bit too close to the CPU cooler mounting holes. So if you're buying AIO such as the NZXTs with which comes with a massive water blocks, chances are you might not be able to use the far left, the most leftward or far left RAM slots. In my case, I have to point the water outlet of the water block downwards rather than the usual 3 o'clock position. I have to put it down to the 6 o'clock position. Luckily, the NZXT software allows you to rotate the graphics so it will still remain upright. And finally, mounting the radiator with 320mm fans. To top it all off, I'm going to install 2 sticks of 16 gig DDR5 5200 megahertz RAM from HyperX Fury. For those who are new in building PCs, it comes with a notch on the RAM, so it's not that hard to figure out the directions when installing into the RAM slot. So now I'm going to talk about some cons for this upgrade. First of all, as you may already know, some users has reported the CPU warping for the latest 12th gen CPU. So apparently, since you require more force to close the brackets on the socket, it actually pressed down the CPU, the lid, so which causes like a warping along the center, which and then even surface, reduces the contact between the lid and the CPU cooler, the copper plate, or whether it's water cooled or air cooled, thus reducing the heat exchange and also the cooling performance. So I've used this for like nearly 3 weeks now. So my CPU is probably warped. I might think of buying a aftermarket CPU bracket to help with the warping issue from Taobao. Currently only available in Taobao, but that's pretty much at user's own risk, because swapping out the CPU socket may void your warranty. Furthermore, I have problems when setting up the RAID 0 configuration with my hard disk. So I have to do some settings in the VMD, if I remember correctly, to get the Intel rapid storage technology to work. And then when it comes to the DDR5, apparently it's still new technology, so they are still figuring out how to optimize it. So I couldn't get my XMP to be enabled to. So my RAM, which later I've upgraded to like 4 times 16 gigs, so that's 64 gigs of RAM. They would only operate in at 4,000 megahertz instead of 5,200 megahertz. Because I just simply the computer wouldn't start. Even if I set it on 4,800 megahertz, it would start, but when I play certain games, it would just crash in the middle of the game. So I have to disable the XMP for the time being. Hopefully, this kind of issue can be solved by BIOS upgrades. So I hope this video has given you the enough information when it comes to upgrading your PC or building a new PC with 12th gen CPU and DDR5 RAMs. And I'll see you guys next time.